have as a reference. If at any time during the presentation you have any questions, I invite you to please go ahead and type those questions on the chat. I will be posting a welcome message so you guys can see it and hopefully post any questions that you have on that. And when the time comes, I will ask you to unmute your mics so that Clem and myself or potentially Althea can answer those questions. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and give the mic over to Clem. Welcome all again, and a pleasure to be here with you all.
Thank you, Eileen. Good morning, everyone. My name is Clemens Garcia. I am the Lending Relations Specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration in the South Florida District Office. As part of the SBA South Florida District Office's focus on access to capital, and in celebration of Black History Month, welcome to this virtual Meet the Lenders webinar session. We are delighted you're able to join us. Today, you will have a chance to learn about the SBA services and then hear from several SBA-approved lenders to hear about the loan programs they offer and the opportunity to ask your small business questions. Prior to working at the SBA, I was a commercial banker, and then I earned my MBA and continued working in financial services industry as a financial analyst. My primary role at the SBA is to communicate with and help lenders grow their SBA loan portfolio and ultimately lend more money to small businesses utilizing the SBA Guarantee Loan Program. So before we get started, I'd like to introduce the Deputy District Director of the South Florida District Office, Althea Harris.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much, Clem. I am very excited to be with you all today. I'm so glad you're here. You may not know this, but our office and the lenders who help us in this market deliver on the SBA loan guarantee programs is the #1 district office in the nation for loan productivity to small businesses. That's what I said. #1 in the nation. There are 68 district offices across the nation. And we have 2 offices here in the state of Florida. And last year, which ended September 30th, 2023, the state of Florida's lenders participating in SBA loan guarantee programs did $2.92 billion in loan guarantees to small businesses. And our office here in South Florida, which covers everything south of Orlando, is responsible for $2.02 billion in funding to small businesses south of Orlando. So I'm excited that you're here. I'm glad you're here. So you can find out how you too can participate in getting financing for your business. And we have assembled for you today lenders. So you can ask them questions. You're going to hear from them about how they do what they do to support small businesses like yourselves. And you have the opportunity to ask questions. And I hope you will ask questions. Clem is going to go through a presentation for you on our loan programs. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not finished bragging. May I just a little bit longer, just a little bit longer. Listen, folks, there are 6 SBA offices in both California and Texas. And yet, South Florida, the state of Florida, with just 2 offices, made the #1 in loan activity. So I think that speaks volumes about our lenders in this market. I think it says a lot about the state of Florida, that we are a thriving and robust economy. This is the place to be, no doubt. And so once again, I'm glad you're on the line. And I'm looking forward to your questions, and we just welcome you and hope that you will take this opportunity to grow your business. We at SBA are here for you and for the growth of your business. And so thank you, Clem, for including me. I'm sorry our district director, Malcolm Richards, couldn't be with us today, but he sends his best to you and his enthusiasm for your participation today as well. Thanks, Clem. I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah. Before we meet the lenders, first, we'll start with a high-level overview of the SBA services and guaranteed lending program. For those of you who may not know us, hello, welcome to the call. We are the Small Business Administration, a federal agency created in 1953. Our mission is to help Americans achieve the dream of small business ownership. We do this by helping you start, grow, expand, and help recover your small business. Here in the local South Florida district office area, we cover 24 counties south of Orlando, including the cities of Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, Palm Beach, and Miami. One of the biggest questions we often get is, what is considered a small business in the eyes of the SBA? Well, that is dependent on the industry and the number of employees and annual revenues that your small business has. The SBA size standards corresponds to the North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS code, or NAICS code. So that may be something you may want to double check. You can visit our size standard tool at sba.gov/size-standards to check. Who is eligible for SBA financing? Your business must operate for profit, so it cannot be a nonprofit. It must be considered a small business as defined by the SBA, as I mentioned, typically, corresponding to the North American Industry Classification System, or NAICS code. You have to do business in the U.S. or its possessions, have to have reasonable invested equity, and 20% or more owners have to willingly personally guarantee the debt. And the last one, this is a biggie, you cannot be delinquent on any existing debt obligations to the U.S. government. So if you've not paid taxes in years, that may disqualify you from any SBA lending programs. Businesses that are not eligible to participate in the SBA loan programs include businesses dealing in sexual materials, speculation, gambling, life insurance. On the right column, businesses that are nonprofits, lenders, passive owned real estate, foreign businesses, pyramid sales, and those that defaulted on a federal loan resulting in a loss to the U.S. government are not eligible. Many people want to know, how does the SBA actually help my small business? Well, we do that by helping you with what we call the 4 C's. This is the core operations that we at the SBA focus on. That is counseling, contracting, crisis, and capital. The first is counseling. We have our SBA Resource Partner Network that assists in providing free one-on-one business counseling for small businesses to help you start, grow, and expand, as well as help in preparing a business plan. Basically, any business questions you may have from A to Z, our resource partners may be able to help you. The first partner is SCORE. They are the nation's largest network of volunteer expert business mentors dedicated to helping small businesses, providing confidential, free mentoring, both in person and online. If you've opened a business or if already opened a business and want help to get marketing going, grow your business, or want to sell or close your business, SCORE has a team of people that can help. In fact, the SCORE chapter at Broward County was recently recognized as the #1 SCORE chapter in the country assisting small businesses. Go to www.score.org to request a mentor. You will schedule a meeting with a SCORE counselor, complete a profile that will identify your specific needs, which will be used to match you with a counselor. On the website, you will also find other business workshops and webinars. Their online library has many free webinars on many topics, including bookkeeping and marketing, as well as helpful templates. And how do I get to the next slide? Let me see. Oh, let me move that there. And there. The second resource partner is the Small Business Development Center, or SBDC network. The SBDC provides free, confidential one-on-one business advising, education, and training to for-profit entrepreneurs and small business owners at all stages of a company's development, with online and in-person advising and educational events. About half of the SBDC's funding comes from the SBA, and the other half comes from the university system. Nearly all of the nation's SBDCs are housed on the campus of a post-secondary institution, either a university or a community college. Today, there is an SBDC in every state of the U.S. territory. In this slide, we show the Florida SBDC network, including 5 located in the South Florida region. The SBDC system in Florida is the largest system and one of the oldest in the country, covering every county in the state, with about 225 business consultants helping small businesses launch, grow, and thrive. In fact, the Florida SBDC at FIU was recently recognized as the #1 SBDC in the nation in helping small businesses. So with the Florida SBDC at FIU in Miami-Dade as the #1 SBDC in the county and in the country, and as I previously mentioned, the SCORE chapter at Broward is the #1 SCORE chapter in the USA helping local businesses. We in South Florida are blessed with amazing resources right here in your own backyard. The third resource partner is the Women's Business Centers. Florida WBC's primary objectives are to provide training, counseling, mentoring, resources, referrals, and support to women entrepreneurs. Florida WBC counseling services are offered at no cost. Workshops and trainings are offered at minimal cost or no cost. Like the other resource partners, about half of their funding comes from the SBA, with the other half from their host organizations. One of the things about women's business centers is you do not have to be a woman to get help from them. The SBA sponsors 3 women's business centers in Florida, including the Helen Gordon Davis Center for Women in Tampa, Florida Women's Business Center in Palm Beach, and We Venture in Melbourne. Fourth resource partner is the Veterans Business Outreach Center of Florida, also known as VBOC, located in Panama City at Gulf Coast State College over at the Florida Panhandle, and they service the whole state. The Florida Business Outreach Center is one of 28 in the country, serving active duty personnel, veterans, and military spouses who want to learn about and then start and grow a small business on their own, also through no-cost consulting. So increase your chances of securing a loan. All of the main resource partners we just mentioned can help you prepare your application to a lender. They will not write your business plan for you, but any of the SBA's 4 resource partners, SCORE, SBDC, the Women's Business Center, or VBOC, can help coach you through the process. Our SBA offices have a relatively small staff, so we rely on our resource partners to help us assist small businesses. So go to sba.gov/local-assistance. And there you enter your zip code, and then you'll see a map of the local assistance and SBA resource partners available in your area. A 5th resource center is the U.S. Export Assistance Centers, or USEAC. The USEAC is usually hosted by the U.S. Department of Commerce, another federal agency, but has SBA employees working with them too. The USEACs are located at metropolitan areas throughout the country, 21 offices in the U.S., and they support American small businesses who want to compete globally by exporting. They will help you if you want to sell outside the United States. Geographically, Florida is a great place for exporting to the Caribbean, South America, Europe, and Africa. USEACs will teach you about the exporting process at centers across the country. They, along with some SBA certified lenders, offer specialized SBA export loans and guarantees for small businesses from $10,000 up to $5 million, used for working capital and expansion to either start and or grow exports for both direct and indirect exporting of U.S.-made products. They are an excellent resource for exporting outside the U.S. The second C is contracting, U.S. federal government contracting. Our federal government is one of the biggest spenders on the planet, spending almost $500 billion annually on contracts. A federal mandate set the goal of having 23% of federal contracts come from small businesses. It is the role of the SBA to monitor those contracts and work with federal agencies to award at least 23% of all prime government contracting dollars to those small businesses that are certified with the SBA's contracting programs. In fiscal 2022, That totaled over $200 billion awarded to small businesses, supporting hundreds of thousands of jobs and business expansion. This includes our 8A Business Development Program, our Hub Zone Program, which is for historically underutilized business zones, our Women-Owned Small Business Program, or better known as WASB, and our Service Disabled Veteran-Owned Program. Our previously mentioned resource partners can help you determine if your business is ready for federal contracting and can help see if you are eligible for these certifications for small businesses. For more info, go to certified.sba.gov and sba.gov/federal-contracting. Third C is crisis. The SBA offers assistance during crisis, specifically federally declared disasters. It's not a matter of if, but when, and the SBA knows that. So each year, the SBA offers billions of dollars in low interest, long-term disaster loans to be able to help get your business back on track. And that includes anything from real estate, personal property, economic injury, and more. The fourth and final C is capital, access to capital, through, as mentioned on this slide, a SBA-backed loan. This is a loan guarantee program, not a loan from the SBA. The SBA is not actually loaning you the money, the lenders do that. The SBA Loan Guarantee Program helps small businesses secure loans by providing a guarantee to lenders against a portion of the loan amount. This guarantee reduces the risk for lenders, encouraging them to offer loans to small businesses that might not otherwise qualify for traditional financing. These SBA guaranteed loans have competitive terms, are usually at lower down payments, longer maturities than conventional loans, and lower risk to the lending institutions to be able to lend to a borrower. Shortly, we'll meet with some lenders and learn about loans to be able to start, grow, or expand your business. How can an SBA-backed loan help you? This slide shows the different uses of funds that an SBA-backed loan can be used for, including launching, growing, repairing a startup, or purchasing a small business, accessing revolving credit or working capital for day-to-day expenses, purchasing, renovating, or expanding facilities, purchasing inventory, equipment or machinery, land or real estate, or export a product or service. The SBA loan programs can be divided into three main categories. The first two are shown on this slide. The first is a 7A loan, federally guaranteed loans up to $5 million with competitive loan terms, flexible term loans, or revolving lines of credit. It is offered through most banks in Florida, can be used for almost any business purpose, essentially what was shown in the previous slide, including buying real estate, equipment, inventory, working capital, refinancing business debt, or purchasing a small business. With the 7A program, there's a variety of sub-programs that fall under this core program. It's very important that your lender understands the real needs of your business so that they can assess the best program that can help you gain access to capital that you actually need and benefits your business the best. Second is the 504 Certified Development Company Loan Program. This is offered through a Certified Development Company, CDC. Use of funds is fixed assets like real estate and fixed equipment, maturity at 10 years up to 25 years. When it comes to access to capital, this program is more of a three-party approach. You have the borrower, a traditional lender, and a nonprofit CDC, versus the traditional two parties of the borrower and the lender. This is a fixed-rate mortgage financing through two loans, one by the lender and the other by the CDC. To purchase land, heavy equipment, or real estate for businesses that do not otherwise qualify for traditional financing. The borrower may bring as little as 10% into the project and can obtain relatively longer term so that it can be easier to repay the loan. The third loan category is the microloan program. This is the more mission-based program where the SBA works with a variety of different community-based lenders experienced in business lending and also providing technical assistance to borrowers. They are tasked with trying to help eligible small businesses such as startups and minority-owned small businesses, any sort of disadvantaged-owned small businesses, women-owned and disabled businesses, and veterans-owned businesses as well. Interest rates may vary depending on the micro lender. Up to $50,000 in microloan proceeds can be used for working capital, furniture, fixtures, and equipment, to name a few, with a maximum term of 7 years. Next, the SBA has a surety bond program. When you get a federal contract or any federal, state, county contract with a private organization, you will normally be required to be bonded or insured. If you're not able to be bonded under normal commercial means, the SBA has a surety bond program guaranteeing bid, performance, and payment surety bonds up to $6.5 million for non-federal contracts and up to $10 million for federal contracts issued by certain surety companies. The SBA helps small businesses facing barriers to success by creating access and opportunity for them to qualify for contract bonding, increase bonding capacity, and grow their business. When you go search at the SBA.gov website, there's about 45 surety companies in the state of Florida that offer SBA guaranteed surety bonds. Need capital from private investors or venture capital? To facilitate the flow of long-term capital to America's small businesses, the SBA partners with private investors, known as small business investment companies or SBICs, to invest in qualifying small businesses with guaranteed capital and private funds. An SBIC is a privately owned company that's licensed and regulated by the SBA. SBICs invest in small businesses in the form of debt and equity. And the SBA doesn't invest directly into small businesses, but it does provide funding to qualified SBICs with expertise in certain sectors or industries. Those SBICs then use their private funds along with SBA guaranteed funding to invest in small businesses. An SBA success story that got SBIC funding during its infancy is Apple. Today, Apple is one of the largest and most valuable companies in the world and got its start with help from an SBA SBIC. Need funding for research and development? The Small Business Innovation Research, or SBIR, and the Small Business Technology Transfer, or STTR, programs support the R&D and financing of cutting-edge technologies. There are very few federal grants, i.e. you don't have to repay back, programs out there for small businesses. This is one of them. The federal government has 11 different agencies looking for solutions to problems, and they are willing to offer you a grant to help find a solution. Your business submits for a request for proposal, and your small businesses may be offered a grant to develop a prototype. If successful with the prototype, you can apply for a secondary grant to commercialize the prototype. You get to keep any patent or proprietary info you develop. And if successful, you already have a ready-made customer, an agency in the federal government. Go to sbir.gov for more information. So, what does the SBA offer? Remember those 4 C's: counseling, contracts, crisis, and capital. Now, what do all these national and international renowned companies on this slide have in common? Well, 1, they all started out small. But 2, they all got help from the SBA through one of its numerous programs. This is the slide with information on how to contact the SBA, including my contact information. If you sign up your email at the update section of the SBA website, you'll be informed of future events and news in South Florida. Now, let's meet the lenders for today's virtual Meet the Lenders session. We'll proceed in alphabetical order by name of the lending institution. I just want to make sure everybody's here, but that would be Ascendus with Fabiana Estrada, CDC Small Business Finance with Kelly Klein, Community Reinvestment Funds Jennifer Erickson, and First American Bank's Joel DeJesus, Lift Funds Jennifer Dale, and TD Bank's Daniela Herrera Gonzalez. Fabiana, can you begin with the introductions?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much, Clemens. Really good information. Amazing everything that the SBA is doing for our small business owners. My name is Fabiana Estrada. I'm the Regional VP for Lending for the Southeast region at Ascendus. I'm going to mention briefly what is Ascendus. We are a CDFI organization, a nonprofit organization that we are designated to provide access to capital and as well the piece of financial education for a small business owner. Even the fact that we have the SCORE, the SBDC, and many other community organizations that they are doing amazing here in South Florida, we would like to mention that we do the one-on-one financial education for small business owners. And one of the reasons why the CDFI are a vital instrument for the economy in the life of the small business owner is because we are here in order to support financial assistance when the business owner is not loan ready. I don't know, Clemens, if you want me to go over what we do or if we are going to continue with a brief information about my organization, or if you want me to give the lead to Kelly.
Go ahead, take one more moment to in terms of telling us what Ascendus does, and then we'll proceed.
Absolutely. It was really very nice to see the numbers that Altia mentioned, because we are Ascendus. We are really very proud to be the #1 micro lender in the state of Florida in reference of the loan amounts that we are doing under the program of the SBA micro loans. What is a micro loan? The micro loan is obviously a small amount that the individuals could qualify, the business owner, from $1,000 up to $50,000 in my case, in my organization. Interest rate super competitive, 7.5, which is amazing, and it's something that Clemens mentioned in reference of the term. The SBA loans are always very competitive in order to be sure that the small business owner has enough time to repay this loan. In other information that I would like to share with you, with all of you guys, is that Ascendus had been doing this activity, helping and assisting a small business owner for the last 33 years. We are a nationwide organization, and we have many different programs where we could fit the business need according of what are they looking for and what is the stage of this business is at right now. So we like to work together with partners, with the business owner, and understanding what is the real need behind this ask in reference of capital and how we could better assist with education and the money that they really need.
Fabiana. Next would be Kelly. Are you here?
I am, yes.
Wonderful. Please go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. My name is Kelly Klein. I am the internal sales manager at CDC Small Business Finance. I've been here about 6.5 years. CDC is originally based out of California, but we lend nationwide. The primary product that we offer in the state of Florida is the SBA Community Advantage Loan. We've been the #1 SBA Community Advantage lender for the last several years in terms of loan volume. We've been around over 45 years, again, mostly operating within California, but we recently got our nationwide lending license. We also have a business advising team in-house, so similar to what Fabiana was talking about. We also offer services similar to SCORE and the SBDCs all in-house. That's the quick little synopsis for us.
Thank you. Next, we have Jennifer. Oh, I think you're on mute, Jen.
Thank you for the reminder. You'd think I'd be used to this by now. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, Clem, for the invitation, and to the South Florida office. Congratulations on your statistics. That's wonderful. We are a community reinvestment fund. I am the Vice President of Lending. I have been with CRF 12 years. And we work nationally. We are a nonprofit, we are a CDFI, and we're a non-bank licensed SBA lender. We offer the SBA 7A and the SBA 7A Express programs. On the 7A, we go up to $5 million, the program maximum. And we also have some non-SBA products for the situations which may not be eligible for SBA. But our focus is SBA 7A, and to drive the capital into underserved communities. We are a mission-driven lender. We prioritize businesses that are owned by minorities, women, and veterans, or located in CDFI investment areas, or in some other way have a strong community impact. But having said that, we lend to all businesses, regardless of ownership or location, based on the belief that all small business creates wealth and jobs in their own communities.
Wonderful. Welcome. Next, we have Joel.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you, Clem. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to thank Clem and the SBA South Florida District Office for having us participate in this panel. It's always a pleasure speaking with entrepreneurs and small businesses. My name is Joel De Jesus. I am the SBA Assistant Program Manager for First American Bank. I'm based out of our wonderful Miami headquarters in the Little Havana area. A little bit about ourselves. First American Bank, we're a full service bank. We have approximately $6.5 billion in assets under management. We provide wealth management services, treasury, private banking, you name it, full service. We're also an SBA preferred lender, and we've won the SBA Capline Lender of the Year in the Midwest Illinois region in 2022 and 2023, hopefully 2024 as well. We won the President's E Award for Export Excellence, and me personally, I've won the Silver Medal Award in 2016 and 17 from the SBA New York District Office for excellence in providing capital to small businesses by utilizing the good old-fashioned SBA lending programs. And I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you.
Next, we have Jennifer, Lift Fund.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, my name is Jennifer Dale. I'm from Lift Fund. Lift Fund is another community development financial institution, CDFI, and we also have a CDC, so a Certified Development Corporation branch. And what we do is we offer, again, non-traditional loans. We're a nonprofit organization that offers non-traditional loans. Our area of focus is really the southeastern United States, and so everything you can say from New Mexico through Florida. And I'm stepping into this role for the first time as a senior vice president of lending, but I've been with the company for about 13 years. And what I can say is that we offer a lot of creative solutions, as do many CDFIs, to those organizations that may not quite be ready for traditional lending. And we work with the banks to support the small business community. One of the things that that I like to share, I'm going to put in the chat the link to our website as well as my email, which is also on the slide. But one of the things I like to share is that there was a study that was done on Lift Fund in particular, but I would dare say that it applies to all CDFI lending, that that shows that every dollar that we invest into the community has a 14-fold impact on the communities that we serve. And so it just highlights the importance of that relationship between those CDFI lenders, all of the CDFI lenders that are on the panel today, as well as our relationship with the SBA and the traditional banks, to show the importance of the economic impact that we can have on our underserved communities, whether they be startup loans or any of the other demographics that have already been mentioned. So very happy to be a part of this. And again, congratulations. #1 SBA chapter, #1 score, #1 everything, it seems like. So congratulations to the South Florida team for the support that they're giving to the small business ecosystem there.
Thank you, Jennifer. Next would be TD Bank, but I don't see her here. Daniela, are you here? Or is it an alternative TD Bank representative here?
Yeah, I'm right here. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. Well, good morning, everyone. Again, thank you, Clem, for having me participating in today's call and to be able to share a little bit about TD Bank's banking services that we use, including SBA lending. My name is Daniela Gonzalez. Well, Herrera Gonzalez is just way too long, but legally Herrera Gonzalez. I'm a business development officer with TD Bank here for South Florida. TD Bank is we are one of the largest banking institutions in the East Coast. Our footprint covers from Maine down to Florida. So we're lending in every state, and we do all type of financing options through conventional loans, and of course we love our SBA products and partnering with the SBA. We're a preferred lender, and we help our small business owners to obtain the financing for their business, to continue to succeed. We offer, at TD Bank, we do offer all types of SBA financing, from export and working capital. Especially being here in the state of Florida, we do see a lot of customers that benefit from that, and they need the capital to continue to grow their businesses. We also do cap lines and 7(a) loans, small and large, and as well real estate purchases via either 7(a) financing, or we also partner up with our CDCs, our certified development companies, for real estate purchases, offering all the benefits through the program. Here in the state of Florida, I can proudly say that we're the #1 SBA lender for 7 years in a row. And in the East Coast, we're also holding the #1 spot. So our goal is, our motto is Banks America's Most Convenient Bank, and we believe in helping our customers through different sources, and SBA is one of our biggest products that we like to offer, always there.
Wonderful.
I don't know if you...
Yeah.
I don't know if you need me to cover anything. That was just a little bit of a summary.
Great. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us here in this panel. Welcome. So let's start off with the first question. It's a three-parter, and your introductions were so good that some of your information answered some of the questions. But for the first question, for each of you, what is your designated area or counties of lending in Florida and or in the United States? What stage of the business can you make a loan to? Do you lend to startups? And what is your definition of a startup? So let's begin again in the same alphabetical order. Fabiana?
Yes, I'm going to start from the end to the very beginning. In reference of a startup, we consider startups those that they had been in operation at least for 6 months. If we could confirm that those individuals had been in operation for 6 months, they are ready to work with a microlender like Asandus. The other question, it was in reference of the coverage that we have as a CDFI. We are a nationwide organization. I guess that's similar like our friend from Lifan. Other question that you may have in reference, can you repeat what was the other one, Clem?
Territories, counties lending in Florida, and what stage of the business you lend to. I guess, yeah, you mentioned startups, so I think you answered it.
Perfect. Thank you. Kelly, you.
Thanks, Fabiana. I did mention previously, so for CDC Small Business Finance, we lend nationwide. So that includes all of Florida and all throughout the country. We can assist startups with small business loans. Over 50% of our entire client base are brand new startups. And for CDC, startups means pre-revenue. So we can help your business. We don't need any prior financial history. We would just look at a business plan and projections when reviewing your application. Off to Jennifer.
Thank you. We work nationally, so we can lend in every state and every county of the nation. We do finance startups, both franchises and independent startups. Technically, we consider a startup anything under 1 year in operation, and a lot of our transactions are projections based. Pass it on to Joel.
Thank you. So our designated areas of lending include the entirety of South Florida. However, we do have a presence in Tampa, as well as in the Midwest, Chicagoland, and Southeast Wisconsin area. The stages of business I think that we consider our real sweet spot of lending would have to be the early to mature stage of a company. So what exactly do I mean by that? Well, ideally, this is the stage where growth is fueled by creativity, leadership, and direction. And what better way to get a feel the direction than to sit down with our borrowers and have a talk, have a one-to-one, and kind of get a grasp of their vision and how we as a bank can get them through what Harvard considers the most difficult stage of growth, and that's stage 2 survival. We do lend to startups. Our definition of startups is similar to the SBA's definition. It's a business that has been in operation maybe 2 years or less. They have limited financial history, financial data, but it's being headed by owners who have relevant industry experience, have a good head on their shoulders, owners who are business savvy and have a sound business plan. And the best way to get a sound business plan in order is to contact the SBA and utilize their resources. They'll be able to provide help. Pass it on to the next, Daniela. I think you're
Jennifer.
muted, Daniela. Oh, Jennifer,
Sure.
my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I wasn't sure.
No worries. No worries. Yeah, so we cover the entire state of Florida. Again, our focus is on the kind of the southeastern United States, but we cover the entire state of Florida. We loan to all, as I would say, all stages of businesses, but we are not heavy into research and development. So, and if you don't have to be, we can do pre-revenue. But we want you to be ready to launch. So not as much in the research and development area. We do consider a startup to be anything less than 6 months. So once you've been in business for 6 months, you're no longer considered a startup business. You're considered an existing business. So it's just those first 6 months of operations that we would consider startup businesses. And so I think that we did about, over the last 2 years, about 25% of our loans were to startup companies, meaning companies that were less than 6 months in operation, and the rest of our loans were to businesses that we consider established, meaning that they have at least 6 months in operation.
Thank you, Jennifer. Daniela?
Hi, yes. You can hear me, right? Okay, sorry. I've been having issues with my my audio today. Yes, so to answer to your question, same, the definition that we use also for startups as well is any business that has been operating in less than 1 year. We will consider startups, and we do provide financing as well through the 7A program. Obviously, we rely on projection based for those type of loans, and we basically follow the guidelines of the SBA SOP, demonstrating sufficient cash flow for repayment of our loan in order to be able to lend to those. And we will consider a startup any type of company. We also do franchise loans. So a lot of those sometimes are, that they're part of that, the same pool. In our territory where we lend to, like I said before, we can lend from Maine all the way down to Florida. And for franchise loans, we do lend nationwide for those.
Thank you, Daniela. Okay, wonderful. Second question. This one, I think you've all in parts have answered, but so perhaps just to clarify for the listeners. Second question, do you offer SBA's guaranteed loans, that is 7A, 504? Do you offer international loans, financing, and do you offer microloans? We'll start with Fabiana.
Yes, absolutely. At Ascendus, we do the 7A microloan, as I mentioned before, and we have been very successful with that program. Those that they cannot qualify for the SBA micro, we have a program that is a regular microloan, and we could work with those business owners that they are not SBA ready, and we could do a loan. We do not do international loans. Kelly?
Thanks, Fabiana. At CDC Small Business Finance, we offer the SBA Community Advantage Loan, the SBA 504 loan, the International Trade Loan, and we also offer the SBA microloan, but it's only available to small businesses in California at this time. Jennifer?
Thank you. We offer the SBA 7A and the SBA 7A Express loan. We can do the International Trade Loan. We don't do many of them, but that is something that we can offer. And we have some non-SBA products for the situation where borrowers are not eligible for SBA for any reason. Joel?
Thank you. So yes, we're one of a few select banks in the nation. We have full delegated authority in every program offered by the SBA. We do domestic lending. We also do international loans. We do export trade finance, such as ITL, the International Trade Loan Program, Export Working Capital Program, the EWCP, or the Export Express Program. We do domestic 7A loans. We do SBA small loans, SBA Express. We also partner with the CDC to facilitate 504 loans for our customers. I think the only product we do not offer for the most part is microloans. We'll leave that up to Ascendus. Thank you. Jennifer?
Don't leave us out of the microloans either, Joe. So we do we do the SBA microloans. We also have the SBA 7A program. And through our CDC, we partner with traditional lenders for the 504 loans as well. And to the point that's been made, we also do have products that are outside of the SBA suite if there are programs that are not a good fit for whatever reason for the SBA programs, or they're a little bit more traditional, then we do have other programs that we can offer as well.
Yeah.
And we can go on to Daniela again.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes. So with TD Bank, I would say we do have similar programs, not specifically microloans. So normally we will do we can do loans under 350,000, for instance, small 7A loans. But other than that, we offer just the traditional loans greater than 500,000, 7A loans, 504 loans as well, as I mentioned, cap line, exporting working capital. And again, through TD Bank, we also have our small business segment or conventional financing should any of the, it wouldn't be a good fit or for any of those. But microloans, I will say we definitely, I will leave it to Ascendus as well. we don't do that as much here at TD Bank.
Thank you, Daniela. All right. Third question. Short one. Do you refinance existing business debt?
That's a very interesting question and a tricky question as well, Clement, because you know what, when the business owner is taking probably an expensive and very expensive loan because of the interest rate or because of the closing costs, the organizations that we are here, my colleagues from LEAF, CDC, Kelly, CRF, we have a mission. So that's the reason sometimes we prefer to be sure if they are taking or if the loan that they took is recently and they were paying closing costs last month, for us it's going to be very hard to refinance that type of debt. Why? Because the business owner was already paying closing costs, has an interest rate that is really very high, and we are going to move away from those scenarios. If this loan that this client, this business owner is trying to refinance, maybe we have an opportunity, but it's not typically a Ascendus sweet spot because we have a mission base to accomplish within the community, and we are not here just to make money. So that's the reason. Kelly?
Thanks. Yes, we do refinance existing business debt. One of the only requirements is just that the existing debt needs to be on worse terms than we will offer. So, obviously we wouldn't put a client on worse terms. But yeah, we can refinance all different types of business debt, factoring, existing loans, credit cards, anything like that. Just no personal credit card debt. Jennifer?
Yep, thank you. Yes, we definitely refinance existing business debt, particularly in the case where it's high interest rate or punitive amortization schedule. For our SBA program, obviously it has to be an eligible refinance under the parameters of the SBA, but we see that a lot, refinancing out of merchant cash advances and other high interest loans. We think the long-term SBA product is a good product for that debt refinance. Joel?
Thank you. Yes, we refinance existing business debt. It's quite common for a new business in those early growth stages to incur some sort of credit card debt in the name of the business, of course, or a factoring agreement or two. We can use conventional term loans, or we can refinance that with an SBA loan. As you all know, the SBA has a lot of rules and regulations when it comes to refinancing debt with an SBA loan proceeds. Luckily for us, we have a well-versed team in SOP that can get the job done quickly. And quickly is the key term, because every month you're strangled with high interest rate debt is 1 month less of cash you have available for working capital that you can invest in your business. Thank you. Jennifer?
Sure. So I'm going to take a middle of the road response and say, yes, we do refinance debt. But to Fabiana's point, hopefully, we can continue to get the word out about the dangers of not using the right instrument to finance your business at the beginning, or really, really understanding the interest rates and the costs of the loan, because there are going to be certain it's just advantageous for the customer to avoid those situations at the outset, and we would prefer to be that source of capital for those startup businesses from the get-go, instead of kind of coming in and rescuing them from perhaps a precarious situation after the fact. So refinancing debt is tricky for us, because if the business has depleted its resources in paying a high interest debt, then that can make it a little bit trickier to qualify. But if we can improve the terms and we still have the cash flow available, it is something that we will consider. So a little bit of a middle of the road, or longer answer, but important to consider as well, I think. And Daniela?
Okay, absolutely. Yes. The same, yeah, my answer is very similar to yours, Jennifer. As long as there's a 10% payment improvement to the business owner, we will consider that. And of course, we follow the SBA guidelines depending on what type of debt we're refinancing. Sometimes we do offer to consolidate debt. In this current rate environment, there's actually a lot of lenders. There's been a lot of opportunities, a lot of loans myself that I've been helping my borrowers where they're in a situation, the costs are excessively high. And if we can come in and demonstrate again that there will be a 10% payment improvement, we offer that by, offering not only a lower interest rate, but even fixed rate loans versus adjustable loans. And we can do that again from term loans, working capitals as well. So yes, we do see, we are seeing, I will say, here at TD Bank, we're seeing a lot of those debt refinance loans through the 7(a) program that we're trying to help with borrowers.
Thank you, Daniela. Fourth question. What is the maximum loan amount that can be originated? How long does it take to be approved? And what are the potential costs and fees?
Yes, Clement, we could do a maximum of 250 because, again, being a mission-based organization, and I'm going to insist on that, the CDFI, we have a mission for this borrower to be bankable. There's no need for them to be forever with a product that probably they are in much better conditions with the traditional lenders. So our idea is for these individuals just to go with us for a maximum of 250. There are closing costs that they could be, for example, the Florida state tax stamp, the UCC fee that they have to pay. So we consider the closing cost between 3%, 4% of the loan amount that the individual requests. Kelly?
Great, thanks. Our loans range from $10,000 to $350,000. In terms of the timeline, it really varies based on how quickly the applicant gets documents back to us. That's so much of the process. But if I were, to come up with an estimate, I would say about 45 to 60 days. If it's a small loan, working capital, we can get it done faster than that. If there's a lot of construction involved, that can drag out. But a good timeline is 45 to 60 days. Costs and fees range from $1,500 to $2,500, depending on the loan size. And about 99% of our applicants just bake it directly into the loan. So you don't have to pay those fees out of pocket. Jennifer?
Sorry, thank you for that. Yes, we offer loans from 50,000 up to 4 million. We can go up to the 5 million maximum in the SBA 7A by exception. Our process typically takes 6 to 8 weeks. It can be shorter, it can be longer. As you mentioned, Kelly's, depending on the situation, we just try and move through it as quickly as we can based on the responsiveness of the borrower. And Joel?
Thank you. So the maximum loan amount that can be originated really depends. Obviously, for an SBA loan, they have their limits. For example, on the SBA 7A program, we can do up to 5 million to any one entity and its affiliates. Very important. However, First American Bank has a legal lending limit of around 90 million to any one banking relationship. And as for the timeline, from application to approval, as well as closing costs and fees, it can vary. It really depends on the sophistication of each request, the preparedness of the borrower, emphasis on the preparedness of the borrower, and the type of loan they are applying for. As for the timeline specifically, it can range, usually within a few weeks to issue a commitment letter, most times a lot sooner. As an approved PLP lender with the SBA, we have delegated authority, so we can go straight into closing after approval. We don't have to wait around on the SBA for approval on their end, so we can go straight into closing and get it done. So closing costs really depends on the sophistication of the deal, as I said earlier. If there's real estate involved, there might be appraisals, there might be environmentals and additional costs. So on to you, Jennifer.
Thank you. So, everybody has mentioned on the relative complexity of the deals. So the same thing applies to us. I will say our standard turnaround time on microloans is about 20 calendar days, so about 15 work days. So we can do those microloans very, very quickly. Those microloans go up at, as was mentioned on the slide, up to $50,000. The SBA 7A program, we also have delegated authority, and so we can do those. Generally, our average turnaround time on those is going to be about 60 to 75 days, although obviously if it's a simpler deal, we can do them in less. If it's more complicated, it may take longer, and so on and so forth. We go up to 350,000 kind of in terms of a broad variety or a broad suite of products. We go up to 500,000 if it's real estate secured, and then of course through the SBA 504 program, we can do loans up to 5.5 million. And so the smallest loan that I've ever done, I think, is one of the questions that may be coming up. The smallest loan I ever did was $675. Our average loan size is about $40,000, but we do the whole range, the whole spectrum. In terms of cost for the SBA 7A program, we're charging from 2 to 3.5% in terms of the closing costs. So that's the answer to that question. And then on to you, Daniela.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yes, so closing costs for us is basically, it's the same average. We incorporate, or we estimate for third-party fees, appraisals, environmentals. The SBA guaranteed fee also gets included there, depending on the loan amount. Typically, our loan amounts for the 7A, large, the limit will be $5 million. And if we're talking about a 504 transaction, for instance, I have a loan right now that is for 11 million. The debenture cannot go over, the debenture, which is a CDC loan, will not go over, of course, the limit of 5 million. And then the remainder can be financed through the third party lender, which is in this case would be TD Bank. Again, we estimate just the regular cost, and the only thing that we include with the closing cost is a packaging fee. Normally we charge $2,500, and it really depends on what. Certain times over the year we will have promotions where we can waive those fees as well. But when it comes about closing costs, again, just a standard closing costs that are associated with closing the transaction, doc stamps, real estate, property taxes, etc.
Thank you, Daniela. Okay, fifth question. What is the minimum credit score needed and collateral requirements to qualify for a loan, for a microloan, and which credit bureau do you use?
Well, at Ascendus, we have a minimum requirement of 575. That it will be the minimum credit score that we request. We have right now a program, is some kind of a credit builder for Black and African American applicants that we could work with no credit score at all or damage credit, that we are going to help them to repair this situation with credit. We could do 18 with no credit score at all, zero score. It was going to be okay with us. And in reference of, I'm lost with the question, I'm sorry. Let me check here that we have.
Which credit bureau?
Equifax, and no collateral requirement. Basically, no collateral for Ascendus. Kelly, you may add more information on that for sure.
Great. At CDC Small Business Finance, we do not have a minimum credit score requirement. We just require that you are current in all of your debts and have a reasonable explanation for any past credit issues. We do have to follow the SBA's minimum requirement for the SBSS score. I don't know if Clem, if you want me to touch on that or if you want to explain it, I'm happy to. So we do have a minimum SBSS requirement of 140, so that's more what we look at instead of the personal credit score. We do pull from TransUnion, but again, we don't care about the score, just that you're current in all of your debts. And that's our requirement across all of our loan programs. We also do not require collateral. Our loans are generally unsecured. We just require the personal guarantee of anyone with 20% or more ownership in the business.
And I'll go next. Our credit policy at CRF states a minimum credit score of 620 for smaller loans and loans above $1 million of 680. However, credit score isn't critical to us. As long as we can understand the reasons for a lower credit score, we will move forward as an exception to our credit policy. So we'll be looking for explanations on the credit derogatories, any collections would need to be cleaned up, any liens, etc. But we will look past the actual credit score. But these are our credit policy levels. Collateral, yes, we'll take collateral that's available under the SBA prudent lending standards. If there are personal assets, we need to look for them to bridge the collateral gap, again, under the SBA rules. But we do most of our loans are under collateralized or have no collateral. So that's the reason for the SBA program and also our CDFI lending. And then we use Equifax. Joel?
Thank you. We also use Equifax as the most popular credit bureau. As for minimum credit score, well, I mean, it depends. For conventional term loans at First American Bank, our minimum credit score is typically around 680. And as for collateral requirements, well, that can vary depending on the request. Our typical LTV or loan to value, which is the loan that we are willing to advance based on the collateral that's proposed, it's approximately 50% of raw vacant land, 60% of improved land, I think 65% of land development, and 80% for commercial real estate. However, no matter the loan size, we will always take a first lien on all assets of the borrowing applicant. However, let's say the loan request is under collateralized. For example, there's a collateral shortfall, or maybe the credit score is below 680. Well, that's when we look to the options offered by the SBA program to see if we can get the deal done other ways. The SBA is an excellent option for deals where financing would prove to be too difficult to ascertain conventionally. Thank you. Jennifer?
Sure. So we use TransUnion to pull credit. It is generally the historically the one that is has most popularly been used in the Southeast, and so that's the one that we go off of. We also don't have a minimum credit score, but all of your accounts do need to be current at least for the last 6 months. Basically, just the assumption is that if you have been struggling with your current obligations, it would not be prudent of us to saddle you with a new obligation. And so if you are if you are struggling with your current obligations, then we will take that into consideration, but there's not a minimum credit score per se. That being said, I would, I mean, our policy does open up a little bit more at about 600 in terms of a credit score. That's where the amounts are a little bit less limited and you have access to a broader suite of products. In terms of collateral requirements, we are a collateral-based lender, so the value doesn't have to be dollar for dollar, but we will, according to the SBA guidelines that my counterpart Jennifer mentioned, we will also take a look at any available collateral, and we will take personal assets such as vehicles or real estate to secure the loan if they are available. Aside from that, I mean, we can be really, really flexible about what we look for, but we're always going to file at least a blanket lien on the collateral that is associated to the business. And Daniela, it's your turn.
Thank you, Jennifer. Yeah, definitely. This is there's going to be a little bit of information with this one. When it comes about minimum credit scoring, well, it really depends, I guess. If I honestly do not I do not work directly with the small 7A loans. I believe they do follow SBA guidelines. There's a minimum SBIS scoring. When it comes about my larger loans, and when I say larger, 500 up to 5 million, we do not have any minimum FICO or any credit score. However, we do look at to make sure that current debt, their credit history is current, no delinquent debt. Along with that, of course, we follow the guidelines with SBA confirming federal delinquent debt, CAVERS, and SAMs, etc. All of the additional, but no, when it comes about minimum scoring, we do not. Collateral purposes, we also follow the advance rates and what's permitted per the SBA SOP. I would say most of the times, not all. We will not decline a loan if it's not fully secure, but we will prefer to take all available collateral, and we do ask for all available collateral. On a 7A loan are typically, for instance, if we're financing a 7A for real estate, we definitely want to be at an 85% LTV, unless if there's additional collateral that it can be pledged in order to be able to finance 90% of the 7A loan. And when it comes about 504 loans, we just follow the standard collateral requirements and financing between the CDCs, of course, 50-40, the third-party lender, and then 10% down from the customer.
Daniela. Next question. What is a good cash flow statement for you? What is a good debt service coverage ratio for you? Is this on a global debt service coverage basis?
Okay, perfect. I'm going to check here because we have your question, and it's very interesting in reference of what is the cash flow that we need. We need the cash flow that the business owner could show us that they could repay the loan. If that cash flow is not there, if they are not prepared, if they don't have the minimum amount that the loan amount requests, let's say that you are applying for $10,000 and the payment is $200 or $300, we need to see that under the business bank statement. And remember, we are going to check your business bank statement. We are not going to check your personal bank statement unless there is something that is going to be having a reason why you're using that personal. But we want for you guys as a business owner to be formalized. So that's the reason that the cash flow is very important, related with the loan amount that the business is going to ask. What is the good cover ratio is going to depend on the program. Depending on the program, we are going to do a global cover ratio, that is going to mean that we are going to count your monthly payment depending on the program. Not all our programs request that. We have different programs at Ascendus that we could be more flexible. But if you have to pay your mortgage, your auto loan, your credit cards, and you are adding a large monthly payment, we want to be sure, all of us, we want to be sure for you as entrepreneur to succeed. Again, we don't want to liquidate your collateral. We don't want to liquidate something that you are presenting as a guarantee for the loan. So keep that in mind for the entrepreneurs that they are there. I'm seeing some question, a very nice question right now incoming for all of us for the panel, but be prepared. That's something really very important. Kelly?
Yeah, at CDC Small Business Finance, we primarily look at 2 years of business tax returns and a year-to-date profit and loss statement. We look at both global debt service coverage and business debt service coverage. We like to see one-to-one coverage on both, but it's not a hard requirement. We definitely operate in the gray area where, a lot of our requirements are pretty loose. So if there is a story there, we can work with you. Well over 60-70% of our clients are all the applications go projection based. So even if you have an existing, long-standing business, but the business doesn't maybe meet one-to-one debt service coverage, but there's a story there, then we can take a look at projections and do the loan projection based. Jennifer?
Thank you. Yeah, we look for the last 3 years of business tax returns and interim financial statements for the current year with the same prior year financial interim statements for comparison. We want to see a year-on-year comparison. Obviously, at this point in the year-end financials 2023 is sufficient, so we wouldn't need a prior year. But we do look at last 3 years of business tax returns, and then we also look at the P&L projections, income statement projections for the next 2 to 3 years. We are looking for coverage on both business debt service coverage, but also global debt service coverage, taking into consideration the owner's personal financial situation. We want to see there's coverage across the global situation. And we can make exceptions. And as I mentioned before, we often do projections-based transactions. That means, to address the question in the chat, we look at the income state projections for the next 3 years with assumptions so that we can see the ability to repay the debt that we're proposing. And I think that was the only question. I think I answered the questions, but I'll pass this on to Joe.
Thank you, Jennifer. I'm just reading the question to make sure I can address it. It's a long one. All right. So what's a good cash flow statement? Well, I mean, a good cash flow statement for us is the statement that shows positive cash flow. I mean, this doesn't get any simpler than that. But realistically, a good cash flow statement is one that's accurately depicts the current state of the company with well-itemized line items that are clear and concise. That's always a plus. We like to see a cash flow statement that shows strong operating activities that are generating positive cash flow. What we don't like to see is large influxes of cash being distributed to owners in excess of what would cover personal expenses, or a lot of large transfers from affiliate companies. It tends to muddy the waters. We like to make sure that the operating company can stand on its own 2 feet. And generally, a good debt service coverage ratio for us is 1.2. That would be a great place to start. But it could be more depending on the business's overall leverage and related loan proceeds and collateral. However, if you fall within let's say a debt service coverage ratio of 1.15 to 1.2, well, that's when we start entertaining options with the SBA program, and maybe a 7(a) term loan would be a better option. As for global, we're very similar to the SBA. We like to see a 1-to-1 ratio. Now, it's important. I tell my borrowers all the time, it's important. Please provide us an accurate and detailed debt schedule. One of the worst things as a lender is we go through the process of originating a loan or an SBA loan for a borrower, and we find out later that they have a debt schedule and a multitude of micro loans, major loans, conventional term loans, HELOCs, all types of factoring agreements, and capital leases. And these things count. These things can have an adverse effect on your overall debt service coverage ratio. And nothing is worse than finding out later on at the end of the process that we went from, let's say, 1.15 to like 0.7. Because at that point, we would have to shift gears. Like, can we still do the loan? Maybe, but now we're going to require projections. We're going to have to look at 2 years of projections. We're going to have a discussion with the borrower. How are they going to get from point A to point B? How can they justify the projections to reach from a 0.9 debt service coverage ratio back to a 1.15? So, yeah, thank you. Jennifer?
Thanks, Joel. And I'm pretty much in line with everything that everyone has said. So if it's okay, I just want to take a moment and explain why cash flow is so important. And because there's a misconception sometimes among small business owners that, banks or lenders don't like to lend money, and which couldn't be further from the truth. We all, we're all in the business of providing financing, and but we want to be responsible lenders, and we, whether we're mission based or traditional and financial institutions, the important thing is we want your business to grow and to be successful. And if we're doing loans, even if the collateral is there and the credit is there and everything else seems to be aligning, if we're giving you a loan that you can't afford, then it's just not responsible lending, and it's going to end up being a bad situation for the business owner. And that's not something that any responsible lender is going to want to do. So to Joel's point, just really disclosing the situation, and then we can figure out a way to work with you, even if it's not immediately, but work with you in the future to get you prepared for the financing that you may need. It really is important to look at your relationship with your lender as a partnership. We don't traditionally require cash flow statements. We find that most of our early stage businesses are not in the habit of preparing cash flow statements. So I'll leave that. I'll put a pin in that question. But we do look at a global debt service ratio. The reason that we do that is because we want to give you the benefit of every dollar that is available to cover the debt. And we do like to see, if we're talking about a 1-to-1 ratio, basically what we're saying is that for every dollar of debt that you have at least $1 to cover it. So that is kind of a minimum for us. We don't generally underwrite based on projections. We have a very strong success rate for our startup businesses. 72% of our businesses survive the first 3 years. But one of the reasons is because perhaps we are a little more conservative with the way that we underwrite the cash flow on those deals. So those are our metrics, and that's what I would have to add about the importance of cash flow. We can be flexible on everything else, but at the end of the day, if we're giving you a loan that you can't afford, we're not doing you any favors. And with that, I'll pass it on to Danielle.
Wow, Jennifer, you said it. You said it all. I cannot put it any better than that. I agree with you 100%. Our primary source of repayment is always cash flow. So we are in the business also of, we try to make good loans, of course. So we want to help, and we want to help our business owners to continue to grow. But even if we have perfect collateral, like you said, or all guarantees, if the business cannot demonstrate the need of repayment down the road, that's going to become a problem. And as a lender, as a banking institution, that becomes, a risk as well, not just for, banks or financial institutions, but even other investors later, if that person wanted to sell his business. Anyway, so there are a lot of the importance of cash flow. It's not just for lenders, but even for investors, for the business. Going back to Joel mentioned a good cash flow. Also, one of the things that we try to look a little bit more into details is like if we're seeing that a business is taking large distributions or excessive distributions, as we call it. Sometimes we may question that or see if there's. Sometimes we can make our own adjustments depending on the type of expense. If it's a one-time expense, we can include that. So we do evaluate, and we look at in very detail at the financials and the operations of the company. typically we will request, for us, we do like to request 3 years of business tax returns to evaluate the income statement and the balance sheet. For a balance sheet perspective, we do overview at the we do look an overview and analysis of liquidity and leverage position, and of course we do also calculate the business cash flow. Sometimes, like Jennifer said, some of our borrowers, depending on the size, if it's just a very small business owner, they may not produce cash flow statements. So we do actually, based on the profit and loss and the balance sheet, we put together a traditional cash flow. And then that's where we confirm where the business stands. For our ratios, our benchmarks are for a 7A loan. We follow basically the SOP. It needs to be 1.15 standalone debt service on a historical or projected base, and global 1.2. That's normally what we like to look at. Global, when we take into account either corporate guarantors or that excess cash flow from the personal guarantors, helping in case if for repayment of the loan, if on a standalone wouldn't be enough. But again, on a 7A loan, 1.15 minimum debt service, just like the SBA SOP. And for our 504 loans, our minimum standalone debt service ratio is 1.2, and globally 1.3.
Thank you, Daniela.
Yep.
So, in the interest of time, let me begin by going to the audience and asking if there's any questions while I begin to address some of the questions that's in the chat. And for any of the lenders, feel free to jump in if it's something that you can answer. First one that I see there, do you offer 7A loans to law firms for working capital? Are there a good rule of thumb as to your target coverage ratios, which might give insight into the loan size? Finally, are personal guarantees always required, or can they be waived based on operating history?
I can say something to that if you don't mind.
Yes.
I'm going to say that at least for our organization, but I would dare say for most, personal guarantees are always going to be a thing. So it's until you get to the point where you're kind of a publicly traded entity or something along those lines, your personal guarantee of anybody who is at least a 20% owner is going to be necessary. I wouldn't focus on. I mean, we've all kind of disclosed what our coverage ratios are, but in terms of looking at the loan size, base the loan size and the loan request on your growth idea and what it's going to take to take your business to the next level. So base it on the growth plan and what you need, as opposed to, and then kind of back into, is that something that I can afford at the ratios that we've all talked about, right? But the a really ambitious growth idea is something, especially for the lenders that can work off of projections. It's going to be helpful to understand how these funds are going to help you to grow your business, and that is going to be something that gives additional support to that number, or the ratio that we're looking at. And then lastly, the last question that you asked was 7As to law firms for working capital. We have no restrictions on that.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Jennifer also?
Yeah, just to tap into what Jennifer has just said, I totally agree. Yes, we would offer loans to law firms, and this is just to emphasize what Jennifer was saying, the importance of your detailed assumptions to your income statement projections are vital in a case like this. So we would want to know what the working capital was for specifically, show us, support that, and then yes, absolutely, we can consider that for a loan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For any listeners, if you have any additional questions, please put them into the chat while we still have time. And if anybody else, any of the other lenders wants to add anything else to that last question before I proceed to the next. Okay. Next question is, I started a business in 2021 and never was able to get fully established due to economic and personal financial reasons. The company is in dissolution for annual report. If I pay the fee to get reactivated, would I still be considered a startup? And part two of that is, or if not, would it be better to dissolve the company and start a new one?
In that case, if I may, it will be good for Shay to go to the SBDC or to the score just to review, because if you don't have any activity, no taxes, anyway, you are going to be considered a pure startup, because even the fact that you are going to pay the reinstatement fee, you will be a startup because there's no financial information. We don't know if you have a business bank account, if that business bank account is showing any activity. Again, try to be connected with those community partners that they could be having a mentor assigned for you, and you could have a better conversation in reference of the steps to take. Do not think, because if you are paying the fee, you will be not considered a startup.
Anyone else? Okay. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so if I could just ask one last question that I was going to ask, or combine the last two, but if the lenders can answer, what's the most common mistake that borrowers make, and what's the one piece of advice you would give the borrower?
Based on my last saying, is to be prepared and try to work with those that they are there for your assistance. So it will be good to invest part of the time instead taking a decision that is not going to make any sense. Try to meet with the real mentors, the trainers that they are out there, that they could help you out. I'm pretty sure that those resources are available for you free of charge, and we are always open to have a conversation with you if you have any question in reference of what product, program, etc. So the main advice, if I may, it could be prepared. We prepare for everything, for Christmas, for holiday, for a marathon. So let's be prepared for a loan.
I would say the biggest mistake is that people often apply for a loan last minute as soon as they need it. But the loan process, especially with SBA, it can take a little bit of time getting all your documents together, getting it through the process. And so really applying for a loan in advance of you needing it, maybe you have contracts coming up in 2 months, start applying now. Because unfortunately, if you wait until, you need money tomorrow, you're going to end up going, most likely to an online high interest lender that can get you financing quickly, but you'll end up paying the cost in the long run. My best piece of advice would be to know what loan size, have a good idea of what loan size you're looking for. A lot of people come to small business lenders and ask, I just want whatever I qualify for or the highest amount I qualify for. And lenders don't particularly like to hear that. We're not just going to give you the highest dollar amount that you qualify for. We really want to lend to you a dollar amount that makes sense. So, if you're looking to expand your business, we only want to give you, how much you need to expand, not the maximum amount that we, can lend, because we don't want to overfinance you and have you drowning in debt. So, getting to that point, you can work with the SBDCs, you can work with SCORE to come up, with a dollar amount that makes sense. But having a ballpark figure in mind before you apply for your loan is something that a lot of lenders will appreciate.
Okay, and I would say the most common mistake we see is receiving projections without the detailed assumptions behind the projections. These are critical for many of the transactions that we offer as a projection-based lender and a cash flow lender. And the one piece of advice, or a couple of pieces of advice I would say, is keep your business plan updated as your business evolves. It's really useful to have a detailed business plan. You can keep it refreshed. That's really helpful for all lenders. And then also, if you don't already have it, implement good financial reporting. Solid financial reporting is critical to the growth of your business and for your ease of access to capital in the future. Thank you. I'll pass it on to Joe.
Thank you. I think, let's see, the first question was most common mistake. I think the most common mistake I've seen overall in general, no matter the loan request, the borrower is just not prepared. When the bank says that we need 3 years of tax returns, we need 3 years of tax returns. We don't need 2 years of tax returns and an IOU. We don't need a letter from the accountant saying, hey, yeah, no, they filed. I swear. No, we need 3 years of tax returns, and we don't want to be the bad guy. I mean, SBA has a lot of rules and regulation. FDIC, we're a regulated bank. We have to abide by the rules and regulation set forth by the government. When we ask, it's because we need it. We're not trying to be the bad guys. We just want to do a thorough analysis of the loan request. And I think my biggest piece of advice I would give to borrowers is visit us at our First American Bank, firstambank.com. That would be my one piece of advice. No, seriously, I think my biggest piece of advice is know who you're banking with, whether it's us, First American Bank, at firstambank.com, or anyone else. Really know who you're banking with. Some banks are transactional, and other banks want to develop a relationship. Other banks want to see you succeed from stage 1 to stage 3 success, and they want to be a partner in that success with you, because when you succeed, the bank succeeds. It's a win-win situation. We're in the business of lending money, and utilize banks. We have a network of businesses. Literally, what we do is lend money to businesses. So we know a lot of other businesses. We may know a business that may manufacture a product that you can use. If you're banking with the correct financial institution, they can probably make that introduction. They're an amazing resource of knowledge and networks that you can connect other businesses with. So really know the bank that you're banking with. Give them a call. When you give them a call, are you speaking to an automated message? Are you speaking to a robot? 30 years ago, that question would be preposterous, but nowadays that's an actual thing. Get into the habit of being with a bank that is going to pick up your phone call. They're going to know your name. Do you have a personal banker? Do you have a relationship manager? Are they following up with you? At First American Bank, our analyst who's working on your loan is going to be the same analyst 2 years down the line that may give you a call and see how things are doing. Or you may give them a call and say, hey, things are doing great. We would like another loan, or we would like to now purchase the real estate commercial property where we operated. That's one of the best advices I can give to borrowers. Just know who you're getting in a relationship with as a bank. Thank you. Jennifer?
So I would say, yeah, I agree with the most. I don't know if it's a mistake, but lack of preparedness is definitely a hurdle for most lenders as it relates to the small business owners, and so I would definitely concur with my counterparts on that. My advice is I'll be brief, but it's four-pronged. One is create understand your business, understand what it is that you want to do, how it is that you want to grow, where it is that you are. So knowing your numbers and understanding the impact that the different decisions have on your business. So one is definitely being prepared in that sense, whether it's projections or actuals or whatever, but understand your numbers, have a system, have a structure in place where you can put your hands on your documents, where you know that your financials are updated. So have that structure in place so that you're always coming from a place of stability and you're not scrambling through things to try to find something. So I know that it's hard to take time when you're running a business to think about the paperwork, but the job's not done until the paperwork's done. So create that structure around yourself, but also create relationships. To Joel's point, create relationships with community partners, plug into the small business ecosystem. This is an amazing ecosystem that you guys have in South Florida, and so I mean, plug into this ecosystem of small business support organizations and leverage it for your benefit. And the last thing I would say is don't let all of that I just said keep you from acting. You have to act. If you're not doing something, then all of it is for naught, right? So don't get into a point where you're in kind of analysis paralysis, and make sure that you're acting on your dream and that you continue to act on your dream. That's my summary. Daniela, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, one of the things, like you're saying, if you are an existing small business owner, you have to know your business. I would say my biggest advice is, well, it's a twofold. First, community outreach, networking. You need to stay in the know. You need to build those relationships with bankers or any customers or any in your community that will help you tremendously. So it's that's one of the things that you have to know, that I would recommend, that you need to, be active on that. Another thing is having that financial assistance, like you're saying, financial reporting. It is so important. So if you are an existing owner, make sure you have the assistance of a CPA helping you, having those reports quarterly, having your taxes, everything, filing your taxes possibly on time. Although it's Florida, most of our borrowers file late, as we know. But anyways, I would say if when it comes about at that point in time for you to look for assistance for financing assistance, if you don't have those financial reports in order, it's going to create a problem. And if you don't have the assistance of someone guiding you that understands accounting, principles and the current regulations, it may hurt you. I see sometimes good borrowers, or small business owners, that they need the financing and to reach their dream to purchase their property. But if the financials they're not speaking or showing the truth, then that's going to hurt you. And that comes sometimes, excuse me, that comes sometimes with some mistakes that some small business owners will do. They will, for instance, run personal expenses for their business. And sometimes the idea is, to minimize your tax liability, of course, but that ultimately can also have a big impact on the financial position of your company, as the numbers, how will they speak through the lenders? When we look at that, can you afford, this loan? Would you be able to repay it if your profitability is affected by that, or your cash flow? Then that you may not be able to obtain financing as quickly as possible as you will hope at that moment. I did mention this also before, distributions. A lot of it's your money. You can take the money, but sometimes it is depending on the industry. But sometimes if you don't need to take large distributions, reinvest that money into your business, retain those earnings, because that also, it helps you when it comes about when you start looking for external funding.
Wonderful.
And
Thanks.
sorry,
Awesome.
last one, actually. Sorry, this is going to be the last one. Projections as well. If you're going to start, sometimes I have borrowers that they're looking to start a new business, and they're looking to purchase a new business, whether it's franchise or non-franchise, it's a restaurant. One of the biggest things that you have to really stay informed. You have to get that resource, that assistance, a good business plan, a good business strategy, that you need to have in mind. You also have to understand the industry, how it works, or your competitors, your numbers, how are you going to be able to reach that during a ramp-up period. So having the right, again, this goes, I guess, having the right person to help you, to guide you, it will speak tremendously in order to prepare, have a good business plan, and be able to understand your numbers, your projections, what are these expenses that are going to come, because we all want a lot of things, but we may have our heart into it, but if we don't understand the industry, how are you going to reach that goal? That's when the question comes. So, sorry, that was my last thing.
Well said. Thank you, Daniela. I want to thank everyone for joining us on this very informative session. Thank you so much to all the lenders, Fabiana, Kelly, Jennifer, Joel, Jennifer, and Daniela. Really appreciate your participation here. And thank you to the audience for joining us. We hope that you found this informative, and I will be forwarding the contact information and copy of slides to all the registered participants. Once again, on behalf of the SBA, thank you, and we look forward to seeing you again at the next Meet the Lenders virtual webinar. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, Clem.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Have a great rest of your day.